everybody? Happy Wednesday, October 11th, 2023. My name is Kevin Smith. Thank you all so much for tuning in to Loud Majority Live, as always, here. Rocking and rolling, 8 o'clock in the morning. Sorry about starting a little late today. School traffic's a little rough. School traffic is always a little rough. So we're going to get rocking and rolling here. Obviously, you guys see the title. It's election season. We got just about a month before all of our elections go off, before Election Day 2023. While it is an off-year election, that doesn't really matter. There are still local elections going on, particularly here in New York, but really wherever you live all over the world, all over the country, I should say, with 3 governor's races. One in the state of Kentucky to replace Democratic Governor Andy Beshear, another one in Mississippi to keep in Governor Tate Reeves, and an open seat in Louisiana. So if you guys are in those areas, don't forget we got elections coming up real soon. This one is on November 7th. So make sure you guys are rocking and rolling for that. If you're here on Long Island, we got all of our local elections coming up. An interesting story yesterday coming out of Newsday talking about what local Republicans should do in the speakership fight. We're going to get into that because, if there's one thing local Republicans should definitely do, it's take the advice of Newsday. But that will come with the notion of what the chattering classes want them to do. I'm sure that means they'll fall. Also, we're going to get into more stories out of Israel, with the White House saying that there are 20 or more Americans missing amidst the Israel-Hamas attacks. Jake Sullivan confirmed that yesterday, and Rep. Rashida Tlaib continues to be a genuinely awful person, a genuinely terrible person. Before we get rocking and rolling today, guys, hit the thumbs up button. If you're watching on Rumble, if you're watching on Facebook, hit the like button. You're watching on YouTube, share this video out all over the place. If you're new to the channel, do hit that follow button. Let's keep rolling and rocking and rolling here, everybody. Let's go. Giddy up. So also, as always, guys, I'm putting a link in the chat. Please. We are proud to partner with Judicial Watch to help purge our voter rolls, because let's be honest, we know they need them. There is the petition. If you guys would not mind signing that, it really helps out this show. Good morning, Canadian trucker here. Steve White. Well, good morning. You were one of the Canadian truckers. Could you please shoot me a message? Because I would love to talk to you. One of the Canadian truckers. So please do make sure you guys sign that petition I just put in the chat. We're going to be talking a lot about our local elections coming up very soon. We've got all of our county legislator stuff here, and our county executive race here on Long Island coming up on November 7th. Look, if you live on Long Island and you want to keep illegal migrants or illegal immigrants out of Long Island, the only thing we can do is vote, obviously. The person that is up for election, not exactly my choice, but you know what? It's better than Dave Cologne, I'll tell you that. Absolutely better than Dave Cologne, so we're going to have to deal with what was chosen for us, unfortunately. I know you guys didn't really get a say in that because, primaries aren't allowed in these local elections. But, 6 old men sit in a room and decide what's best for 1.3 million people. But, look, neither here nor there. I can get into that all day long. I can believe me, anybody who knows me knows I'll get into that all damn day long. So the breaking news today, before we get into all the election stuff, White House says 20 or more Americans are missing after the attacks in Israel. National Security Advisor Jake Sullivan said on Tuesday that there are at least 20 Americans missing in Israel amid the ongoing war with Israel and Hamas, which has already claimed the lives of 1,600 people. Speaking during a press conference at the White House, Sullivan stressed that while at least 20 Americans are missing in Israel, that doesn't mean they're being held hostage. We're going to dive into that statement because we believe there are at least 20 or more Americans who at this point are missing, but we want to underscore and stress that does not necessarily mean that 20 Americans or more are being held hostage. That just means they're currently unaccounted for. Well, in the midst of a war, Jake Sullivan, you dithering idiot, In the midst of a war, there's only really three things a person can be. They can either be found, they can be held hostage, or they can already be dead. So, why don't you take that, put that in your pipe and smoke it. He said the number of Americans being held hostage by Hamas is currently unknown. We will work hour by hour both to determine whether we can account for those Americans and to confirm exactly how many Americans are being held hostage. Sullivan stressed that the future of Americans who are unaccounted for could rise. Real nice. Real nice. It's good to know there are Americans in the middle of a war zone. We have no idea where they are. And it shocks me because, how they wouldn't know how many people are being either held hostage, dead, or found, considering we all have cell phones. And I know if I was in a war zone, the first thing I would do is probably go on social media to let everybody know I'm okay. And if I haven't done that, that probably means I'm not doing okay. So we will wait for updates on that coming out of the Dithering Idiot Brigade, Jake Sullivan. This comes as Biden confirms 14 dead Americans in Israel and warns global factions not to take advantage of the conflict. Well, unfortunately, President Biden, nobody really takes you seriously. Nobody really is worried about you in any real way because, you don't exactly project strength on the world stage because you're a dithering idiot. However, President Biden confirmed that 14 Americans were dead, and I say it all the time. I'm of course anti-war. I don't believe in colonization. I don't believe in America being the policeman of the world. My question is, and will continue to be, how many Americans have to die before it becomes our problem? That is a question that will plague this conflict moving forward from here on out. Because, let's be honest, who really knows how many Americans would have to die before it becomes our problem, unfortunately. We've got some stories here from Newsday that I do want to get into about the speakership race because obviously our three useless congressmen will play a vital role in picking the new speaker, which I believe will happen today. Let me pull this up. Speaker of the House vote. Many believe that the speaker race will come today, that the speaker vote will come today. If that happens, we will bring it to you live, of course, right here across all of the platforms. Whether you're on Facebook, Rumble, or YouTube, we'll bring you all the stuff. Obviously, Jim Jordan and Steve Scalise are the two front runners to replace Kevin McCarthy. Many people believe that Kevin McCarthy may try to vie for speaker again. I would very much suggest not doing that. But, hey, what the hell do I know? According to the Newsday editorial board, which I'm sure all of our congressmen will listen to, because there's nothing that says be a Republican more than begging for the votes of people who hate you. Rather than supporting the people who have your back, you beg to be seen as a moderate by the New York Times. That's what happens when you put cowards in office. But, that's really neither here nor there. So, this from the Newsday editorial board. Just watch the way they frame. Watch the way they frame the players involved in this, okay? I want you to take... this is one of the most unbelievable articles ever because Newsday does its best to try to frame the three Long Island congressmen. Now, of course, they ignore the fact that there are actually four. One of them, of course, votes correctly. The other three vote wrong. But watch the way they frame the players here. The Republican majority for the House of Representatives drifts leaderless more than a week after a small clique within the ranks sparked the overthrow of Speaker Kevin McCarthy. The splintered conference is due to meet on Wednesday regarding a successor. They'd better act fast. International crisis in Europe and the Middle East require decisive planning on aid and assistance. Now, why would it need that? The political challenge is particularly severe on Long Island. The all-Republican delegation and its constituents. 3 of Long Island's 4 representatives are first-timers who so far have only served under Kevin McCarthy's brief tenure. To become Speaker in January, Kevin McCarthy agreed to a rule that let only one member initiate a motion to vacate the post. It's a bizarre and destabilizing rule that, for the bipartisan good should be tossed out. No, it shouldn't. It cost McCarthy his job, though it's worth remembering that through this procedural coup, he kept support from most of his 221 Republicans. Here it is. But Florida's widely despised Matt Gaetz and 7 GOP rebels succeeded in their intrigue, while 212 Democrats under Hakeem Jeffries cast their vote to boot the speaker. Now Rep. Jim Jordan and Rep. Steve Scalise are pushing for the top job, while Jordan has Trump's blessing. The rational three in the Long Island Four, they're the rational three. The rational three in the Long Island Four undoubtedly are and should be weary of both contenders. Logically, Nassau and Suffolk incumbents have been keeping their cards close to the vest. Indicted George Santos said he's supporting Jim Jordan. A disastrous choice. A disastrous choice. Now, I just want to throw something on the screen real quick, just to give you guys a bit of a taste of Newsday's editorial board here. They called Jim Jordan a disastrous choice. Then when you scroll all the way to the bottom, members of the Newsday editorial board are experienced journalists who offer reasoned opinions based on facts to encourage informed debate about issues facing our community. Oh, really? What about Jim Jordan being a disastrous choice? Would be a reasoned take. The most desirable outcome would be that the new speaker, who recognizes the power of the so-called purple districts, 6 of New York's incumbent GOPs were elected from districts that Joe Biden won in 2020. There are another 5 from California. These competitive members and others around the nation should form a key block that guides the speaker selection away from dim extremism. I don't really know why they called Matt Gaetz an extremist. Here is Congressman Gaetz, the other day speaking about him being labeled an extremist. This was him on Friday, last Friday night at Tim Pool's in-person event. I was pleased to be at it. It's the clip's about 6 minutes long.
I guess I got a question, if I may, Matt. I got a question for you. So, for me, an outsider, more from a guy that's a businessman, entrepreneur, I've been in that world for the last 20-some years, last few years. Obviously, I have a lot of interest in politics because I see what's going on to the greatest nation in the world. I want to do my part to protect it for the 4 kids that I have. What kind of progress did we make with what happened with McCarthy? So, for example, when you first said, you got up and you said, this guy didn't keep the promises he told me he was going to keep. He didn't do this, he didn't do that, he didn't do this. The $33 trillion of debt, did you actually think your influence was going to be the first time for him to get fired? Did you think that was going to happen? Or were you like, oh shit, this actually happened? Oh my God, I didn't want it to be this bad. I just wanted to scare him, but no, it actually became a reality. What were you thinking when you first pushed it?
I've been a bit despondent my last few years in Congress because it feels like no matter how much we make the witnesses look like fools in hearings, they still get the money to turn large features of government against the American people. So I've come to believe that it's all about the money. It's about what you'll pay for and what you won't. And it's not about just kind of browbeating people into submission with really elaborate committee hearings. And in Washington, there's an ethic that you don't really have to keep your promises about the money because no one really means it. We've designed a system where the president can blame the Congress can blame the OMB director, the Senate and the House can blame each other, we can all blame the bureaucrats, and at the end of the day, everyone gets reelected, the debt grows, and it's just kind of a wink and a smile. And in January, we did organize a core group of people to say this has to be different. And then we went around the country. I went on your show and said, this is how it's going to be different. We're going to do a budget. And then single subject spending bills that address one thing at a time, not every disparate agency of government at once. And we're going to have, the government spending increased 40% during COVID. So we want to go back to pre-COVID spending levels on non-defense discretionary spending at a minimum to get the ball rolling and get momentum for other broader, deeper cuts. And when McCarthy sent us home for 6 weeks without a budget, when we knew we were going to be pushed up against a deadline with just yet another continuing resolution, advancing Joe Biden's spending and Nancy Pelosi's priorities. I said, we can't do that anymore. We at least have to show that there's a consequence to breaking your promises about spending, even if only one time and even if only for one man. So I think that is an end unto itself. But now the job is not over. This is not the time to uncork the champagne and pat ourselves on the back. We have to get someone in that office who will deliver on those precise commitments. And then we have to demand that the Senate negotiate with us, not in the context of all these agencies smushed together, but each of them having to stand on their own merits. So I wouldn't say that the deliverable is more than the shock to the system that Tim described, but I do think that there is a way to govern that, frankly, I would hope would outlast Republican control of the House of Representatives. Like when the Democrats take over, which they inevitably will at some point in the waxing and waning of politics, why wouldn't you want a system where people have to take votes and be held accountable no matter who's in charge? That's how we ultimately win.
Ooh, so extreme. So extreme. Extremism is everywhere. I don't know. That sounded like a fairly measured take to me. I don't know. Maybe I missed something. I don't know. Just a thought. So the speaker race will be coming up in the waning hours. We'll see what happens. I got C-SPAN on behind me just to see what happens. Guys, it's time to get motivated. You know, as I said, local elections are on their way here. They wouldn't have been my choice, but you know what? Nobody listens to me. So, or you know, none of the big bad power brokers care what you or I think, because you know it's all about securing power for themselves. But look, we got to get out there. We got to vote. We got to do what we got to do to keep this island safe. Because believe me, if Democrats get in control, Suffolk County will be a sanctuary. County, as will I don't think Blakeman's on the ballot this year, but Suffolk County will be a sanctuary county if Dave Colon gets in. It's important to understand that. Crazy ass Democrats want to make, I don't know, open storefronts, migrant shelters across all of our main streets. Many of them have said it out loud, despite their feigning liking the police, as they did the other day, which I thought was pretty funny. We're going to wrap right here, guys. I want to thank everybody so much for tuning in today. There seems to be a lot going on in the chat about America being the world's police officer. Couldn't disagree more, but could not disagree more. We gotta fix our own house before we go and save the world. I want to thank everybody so much for tuning in. I'll be back at 1 p.m. I'll be back at 1 p.m. Rumble.com/LFATV. That's Rumble.com/LFATV. I'm putting that in the chat. Make sure you guys are all subscribed over there. If you're not, I really don't know what the hell you are doing. We got a jam-packed show for you guys this afternoon, so make sure you stay tuned for that. Rumble.com/LFATV. Also, guys, make sure you guys are signing this petition to help us and Judicial Watch purge our voter rolls of all the dead people who continue to vote in our elections. I know I'm not allowed to say that because I'm on YouTube, so we'll see if the video gets taken down, because, you know, YouTube sucks. If you're not already watching over on Rumble, I really don't know what exactly the hell you are doing. So sign that petition. It really helps out this show. Thank you all so much for tuning in. We'll be back live at 1 p.m. Until then, everybody, stay loud.